Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank you for joining our monthly webcast series. My name is Gustavo Hinojosa, Executive Director for the National Cybersecurity Student Association. Our presentation today will be Finding and Becoming a Mentor with Royce Humpert Jr. So having a mentor will help define you. They will support you, connect you, develop your emotional intelligence, push your boundaries, open your mind, and broaden your horizon for success. We will discuss the importance of finding and nurturing your mentor relationship. Discuss being open and ready to becoming a mentor when the opportunity comes. This time, I'd like to hand it over to Royce.
Thanks, Gus. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start with a very powerful mentoring quote from Jim Rohn. My mentor said, "Let's go do it." Not you go do it. How powerful when someone says let's. That quote has been out there for a few years, but the reality is a mentor is not just someone who believes in you, but they do help you unlock your potential. I come at this from a very interesting standpoint because when I first came upon the educational side of things, I'm significantly challenged. I'm learning disabled with ADD, disorder, what used to be called dysgraphia, which is now disorder written expression, and a dyslexic. I've been working since I was 15 years old, which means I've now got 30 years of working experience. And then prior to that, installing network cable, working on a farm, really understanding what it takes to get things done. I joined AT&T many years ago, spent 11 good years with them, and then got my degree in cybersecurity, graduating in 2015. But I hold an associate's, a master's, and my bachelor's from my alma mater of University of North Texas. The master's is from the University of Dallas in Irving, which also carried with it the CNSS certifications, and I received all 6 domains. The advocate for women in technology and cybersecurity comes from a very interesting personal source. My daughter is someone who looks to me to mentor her, but she also inspires me. And later in the presentation, we'll talk about the two-way street that mentoring is. But it's just absolutely amazing to see what young people can do in this industry when they are motivated and bring forward their talents. Everyone who's here is here because you want to be involved and you want to understand more about how a mentor can lead you or push you. The way a mentor can open doors is incredible. One of my closest mentors who I just lost in November was an attorney, a communications attorney. And he saw things in me that I never thought I would. You have to also feel ready to be coached, because a mentor will not just invest their time. They'll also give you things to take away and homework if they're doing it right. And when a mentor takes the time to introduce you to his or her colleagues, you need to understand you're being introduced as a prodigy, someone who's being brought up and moved forward. That's important because those things lead towards success. I've had mentors who challenged me to be greater than myself. I had a mentor who said, don't market a thesis, pick a program and go. That's how I got really motivated about taking on my master's. I've had some mentors suggest, well, you need to get your CISSP and your CompTIA this, and understanding that some of those certifications had a purpose in my path. I am chasing them. I don't have them yet, but I am chasing the CISSP. I hope to be chasing the CISA and the CRISC soon, but I'm taking care of that one big one first. And it's amazing how many times my mentors are absolutely right about this certification moves you forward in this direction. Another thing that was eye-opening is I've had more than a few mentors suggest ways to manage time and be effective with ways to do work and understand what I should be expecting to get out of things, depending on how much effort I put forward to them. Now, this goes back to mentioning the two-way street. I'm going to be very specific about this particular item that's first up. Steve Jobs is known for mentoring thousands of people at Apple and Next Computing and basically everything he touched. But one of his mentors is famous for having excused himself from Apple before it was famous. As a result, that man does not own anything Apple at all. But he sat Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak down and made them understand they can't fight with each other when they're trying to build a successful business. Now, every once in a while, your mentor will have a challenge and you'll be able to provide a solution. It's very important never to come off as an expert to your mentor. So, that brings up a different quote. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. From Winston Churchill. That's a quote that has stuck with me for a very long time. And it means a lot when a mentor of mine takes the time to listen to me and what I've brought to the table. And it's because that was paid forward to me that I try to take what my students bring to me and utilize it in a day-to-day fashion. When you talk about your future, your mentor may see things that you're not ready to do, but they're going to push you to. This gets into why cybersecurity really became a forefront for me. There were attorneys that flat out said, Royce, you're so talented in this part of technology. Why don't you go get a degree in it? Then one literally said, here's the 7 best schools. Pick one. And I did. And I got my degree from UD. And it changed my life. And it changed his too. Because he saw what I did and then went on a totally new path on his own. One of the biggest things that we should do as a mentor, and one of the things that has been impressed upon me by my mentors, is when you exhibit a bad habit, help break it. One of the things I see in many of the students that I mentor is low confidence. There's a huge difference between being humble and not being confident enough to carry your point. There's a quote from John Crosby. Mentoring is a brain to pick, an ear to listen, and a push in the right direction. When you have a mentor who inspires you, leads you to a different path, and helps you crack the egg of new, better habits, you wind up being a better person. Now, when your chance to be a mentor comes up, it's very, very important to understand this is not going to be an easy thing to do. Certain people who you mentor will push you. They will ask more of you than you are willing to give. It's very important to present a balanced emotional image to anyone you mentor. But this last point, I had a good friend who he had a mentee. He led her in a very particular direction, and it was a dream that he wanted to live. Now, it worked out. They did really see a lot of value with it, but they also wound up getting married. And that crosses a line that goes back to the emotional side. You have to be sure that you carry a professional standpoint, even though those individuals may come to a level where they are family to you. My mentor who passed away in November knew that he was a father figure in my life. I admitted it to him. I was very clear with him. He also knew that he was always welcome to ask me a question or to give me a piece of unsolicited advice, even if it meant I really needed the kick in the rear. When you give of your time to be a mentor, the very first thing you learn how to do, especially if you take on multiple students like I have, you have to manage your time and you have to show them how to manage theirs. Your ability to communicate with others will increase. You're going to see a very direct impact in the people you mentor. I go back to a quote from the Bible. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. This is important. Your impact is going to lead to one of two things. Your mentee will continue to be at your side asking more questions, or they will go find someone else that will mentor them in the direction they want to go. If either one of these two situations happen, you just let it slide off. Don't let someone's decision to choose a different mentor affect you in a negative way. You have to set the example and the tone of the mentoring relationship. That's where you're going to see personal value grow in yourself. I said before that you're going to get asked questions that you may or may not be ready to answer. The first thing I can tell you about this is be ready to say, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll look into it and bring you an answer that I feel completes your question. And that takes me to a quote by Sir Isaac Newton. If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. We all know what he was famous for, and I think that it's an amazing thing that he is considered the father of calculus and so many things. But he was challenged by his students, as you will be by yours. In mentoring, we give of ourselves to develop the future. Doing that creates new views and better understanding. The point that I want to close with is keep a journal of what your mentor says to you. Understand what they choose to give to you is something that is invaluable. Having a mentor who believes in you and lifts you up is amazing. And with that, there are two quotes that, and these are all quotes that are out there you can look up. But from Oprah Winfrey, a mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside yourself. That hope is what pushes you to grow. And if you can find that hope, you can help others find it. It's important and truly valuable to give. So with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions you guys have.
All right, Royce, we got a question in the chat box. Thanks for the presentation. So one of them was, as a student, where can I find a mentor?
So number one, as a student, whether it was at the associate's degree, bachelor's, or master's, mentors are everywhere. If you have a particular goal in mind, okay, one of the first things I will immediately tell you, especially with cybersecurity, ISSA student memberships are a great way to get into those meetings. And if someone is in a particular section of cybersecurity, you walk up and introduce yourself. That is the best advice I can give you on that. And then once that mentoring relationship starts to solidify, really pay attention to the way you're introduced and the way they perceive you.
All right. Just to add to that too, as for myself, you mentioned ISSA. They're a great way, good professional organization, and the Information Systems Security Association, or ISSA.org. They have monthly meetings. You can just go there and network with other professionals that are there. Sometimes there's students, but a lot of times it's mostly for professionals. And you might be shy at first, but the more meetings you go to, the more relationships you're going to build with folks, and just reach out to them. And so how do you, for you, Royce, how would you approach someone to ask them to be a mentor? Do you just ask them, or would you just ask them if you could email them sometime about a question?
So I have been emailed questions. I have walked up to people. I have had people walk up to me. I've had cold calls from people. The fact is, any way you ask is fine. And don't be afraid of no. If somebody doesn't want to mentor you, no big deal. Walk away from it, move on, find somebody else. The bigger thing is when someone says yes, they've identified something in you that they think they can nurture. That is crucial. So the fact is, look at your teachers, family members, coworkers. A lot of the quotes that I pulled off this evening, guys, came off of the top 20 mentoring quotes. And these are things that I didn't even realize were out there until I did a search while we've been talking about things. And there's one on here that makes a lot of sense. The greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal him to his own, by Benjamin Disraeli. If you look at having a mentor, opening the door, having another mentor who shows you a different industry. And I mentioned that I had a lawyer who was a great mentor to me. I've also had executives who are great mentors. I've had colleagues who left workplaces be mentors who pushed me in different directions. But one of the greatest privileges in life you can have is when one of your mentors reaches out to you to mentor his or her own children. That was a privilege that I had extended to me last year. The young man I'm mentoring is one of the most challenging individuals I have ever had to lead. But I will tell you right now, I have learned a ton from him. He is constantly reaching out to me, talking to me about his background and his master's degree and where he wants to go with work. And it's just amazing to watch the ways I've been able to make him realize the way he's communicating and try to break him of a few of the bad habits he's got and help him establish brand new solid habits as a result. Qualities are good to look for when searching for a mentor, I see, is another question. And Layla, I'll come back to your question in a minute. But the qualities you want to look for in a mentor are the qualities you want to emulate. Things that you know you're short of. Does that make sense? And Layla, Gus has my email. Reach out to me. And Max, ISSA is an awesome organization. I'm sure they have chapters in North Carolina. We've got a question from Marco. Okay, number one question I get from mentees, and this is almost always first and foremost thing, is what is my why? Why did I get into cybersecurity? And then they quickly followed up with, well, you didn't do it for the money? And the money was nice, but my why is because I had my identity stolen the day my daughter was born. And then I had a great mentor who twisted my arm into choosing a college and going forward. Then they ask questions about how to get into the field, where do they need to look for degrees, what certifications do they need, and it leads to a successful conversation where they're able to change the trajectory of their lives in a way that leads them into a new direction.
So I got a question for you, Royce. If you go up to someone and ask them if they can be a mentor and they say no, and if they say they don't have time, is there another way to approach that? To approach them?
Yeah, actually, the way that, and I turned this into a mentoring relationship after, it wasn't a number of years, it was actually a couple months, but still, as soon as they said, no, I don't really have time for that, I turned it around and said, okay, so how about we just have coffee once a quarter? So he looked at me and said, really? You take that? I said, absolutely. I'd love to just have 15, 30 minutes of your time once every 2-3 months to just catch up and see what you think is happening in the industry, what I'm seeing happen, and how do we make that connection that benefits each other. And he thought about it for a second and he said, okay, let's do that. That was 15 years ago. This gentleman is still in my life today.
So it's important to be persistent, right?
Well, persistent, but persistent in a way that's not offensive.
Okay.
And you've got to make that connection be in a way that comes off as, okay, how about we just get to know each other? And that pays huge dividends. All right, so Vivian, I'm glad that this gives you some ideas because my daughter is a junior and she is chasing cybersecurity as hard as she can. LaShawn. Okay. Number one. Don't ever get discouraged. We have a huge, I'm not going to say deficit, but we have a huge amount of available opportunities. One of the ways I got the job, I walked into the interview, I owned every question, and then I closed the interview. They didn't close it, I closed it. And I said, either I'm the right guy for this position or I'm not. They said it'd take a couple weeks to hear back. 3 days later, I heard back and said, you've got the job. Do you remember what I said about having the confidence, but being humble at the same time? When you're in an interview, that is the time that you can be a little bit, not totally overconfident, but a little bit more confident than you would be in a regular situation. You're there to talk about a subject you should know best, yourself. Does that make sense?
Just to follow up on that too, networking is a key part of finding a job.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned ISSA and ISACA. There's a lot of organizations out there where they have these monthly events. So ISACA, ISACA.org, ISSA.org, InfraGard, AATP, ISC Squared. These are organizations that are almost in every major city in the United States, and they have monthly events. Just in my area, they're every second Wednesday from 3 to 5. And you go to these events and you just network with folks, and you meet people. You create personal, relationships with the member base there, and tell them your story. Say, hey, I'm going here. I did this. I did that. This is where I want to be. And when they see your passion, they're gonna wanna help you out. And most folks will too. They'll say, hey, we got some interviews open, or hey, why don't you give me a resume? But networking is the main key to finding a job. And I always say, do it. The sooner you network with these professional organizations, the better you're going to be at. Because if you wait till the end of your associate's degree or your bachelor's degree, it's going to be it's never too late, but you're going to be late in the game. So it's always good to attend these networking events as soon as you could. If it's your first semester, you don't know nothing, that's okay. The whole point of going to school is to learn. And, and so you need to really develop these relationships with these, memberships, professional memberships that are out there. And I'll just put those organizations in the chat box.
So, LaShawn, I'm going to answer this very directly. It is up to you. I personally have chosen to walk the path of what a great friend of mine and mentor says is pile higher and deeper. But it's not to be called doctor. It's to be recognized as an absolute expert in a field that I believe is it's not unknown, but it's certainly unloved. And it's one that it's near and dear to my heart because I really want my PhD in information assurance, specifically on identity and access management. You can get a fantastic job with even an associate's in information security. But it's what you bring to the table and the passion that you bring that employers want to see on a day-to-day basis. And so I would challenge you that, LaShawn, if you're thinking about the PhD, sit down, write out what you believe your dissertation topic sentence is, and then go search it on Google. And tell me through Gus or through the organization, did it make sense? Was it unique? If those two things happen, then a PhD makes sense. Okay, you've presented a second very challenging question. So when you get the "you're not qualified," I go back to a quote that is nowhere near the list I mentioned before from Richard Branson. When someone offers you a job that you don't know how to do, accept it and learn how to do it. Your desire to push yourself has to be there. So what I would say, and this is important for everybody here, you're going to get asked to do things in cybersecurity that you're either A, not comfortable with, or B, have no clue how to get done. The answer is take the challenge, learn how to do it, and give 110% of what you're being asked to do.
I had a question, Royce. Earlier before this meeting, we were talking about work-life balance, and one of the students asked about that. How important is balancing out work-life, school, and when should we know to stop? Not take on too much.
Okay, so this goes back to the conversation I had with my mentor, but also a conversation I have with my mentees. I put my family first, above my job, above my mentees, above everything. Then I plug in my mentees. And it sounds sort of crazy that my job is sort of the third priority, if you will. My mentees are the future. You guys are what I leave behind. Right? Do y'all understand that? That's part of the reason why this particular presentation was so important for me. You are our future. So if I don't do a good job of stewarding where you go, the industry falls on its face. So you manage the time that you spend on your family, on your mentees, and your job. And you develop these great time management skills. In fact, one of the skills I've passed on to a mentee I have at the office is time blocking. Now, when you get good at this, you don't have to do it in a way everybody sees. But learning how to time block with your calendar on your smartphone and your office calendar is crucial. It's how you build the time to do what you need to get done at work, what you need to get done for your mentees, and what you have done for your family. That's what makes a difference. And being able to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour with somebody, whether they inspire you or you inspire them, that loop that you create with that person builds energy. It makes both people more successful. That's why mentoring is a two-way street. That's why it's important for you to mentor people and for other people to mentor you. And LaShawn, thank you. I'm glad that this is making a positive impact on you. And I guarantee you I will make time to speak with you outside of this. And for everybody on here, if you have questions outside of this presentation, let Gus know. I can't get to them every single day, but I will get to them. I will answer your questions because it's important to me that the next generation of cybersecurity professionals lead with the same passion and desire to grow that I do. And I'm sure that, Gus, you second that because you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't want other people to grow.
Yep. So I got another question. Is there any other organizations that you know of where students can become mentors?
Okay, so this gets into the disability side of things, folks. So there is an organization out there called Pathways where this is where I first was challenged to be a mentor. My first mentee ever had Down syndrome, but the guy was lightning smart. He had been told by so many people because the way he looked, he didn't matter. This is a guy who he could quote off stuff from calculus left, right, and sideways that I couldn't dream of. The biggest favor I ever did him was to introduce him to somebody who helped him become a professor. I opened a door that led him to success. That's what you have to do. Inspire, open the doors, be open to the feedback they give you. Because as a great friend of mine says, Ken Finoglio, feedback is a gift. And I know that is something he took from somebody else. Don't remember who. And I'm a huge believer in the idea of the parable of the red thread. It's an old Chinese parable. There's a red thread that interconnects every person to another. Sometimes those threads are intertwined for long periods of time. Other times, it's very, very short. In some cases, it may even spark because it's so bright. Those moments of inspiration should lead you down a wonderful path. So, I don't know how many people have other questions that they're comfortable with posting, but my challenge to anybody who's still with us at this point would be go ahead, put it up there, and I would be more than happy to try to answer whatever question you have.
Just to a quick follow-up, if any students looking to mentor other students, Cyber Patriot, I have put a link in the chat box, is another great organization. It's a national youth cyber education program. For myself, I was a technical mentor for them, and it's a competition where it's for middle school and high school kids, where it's kind of like a capture the flag thing. They're going on digital dig and find artifacts. So they got coaches and they got technical mentors that you can apply for. It's a good way to give back and help cultivate the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. So I put that in the link as well in the chat. Anybody else got questions?
Well, it looks like we've got a hand raised. So do you
Right.
want to ask it verbally or do you want to type it in, Matt?
Well, I'll mute him here. All right, Matt, you want to ask away?
It's on my chat box.
You could actually your mic is unmuted. All right.
Matt, did we lose you?
You there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go.
Oh, sorry there. I was having some technical issues. I was just looking for any advice or recommendations if you're in a cyber certificate program. What to look for a school in a school with a master's program. I see there's a lot of programs online. I'm sure some are very good, some are equally as good, and maybe some are not. My background is not in tech, that's why I went with the certificate first. Background in political science. So I'm going to take a instructor-led course locally here in A+, and probably the Network Plus. And then after that, and after certificate and after completing those two, go on for this master's in cybersecurity. I was wondering if anyone had any recommendations, what to look out for, or any red flags.
Okay, so number one red flag is you want to be sure that the program is accredited from a national body like the AACSB or the NSA.
Sure, absolutely.
So first things first, NSA posts their centers of academic excellence online. When a school achieves that certification, that's when they're able to offer the CNSS certifications that I have. There are two ways to get these. Serve time in the military, go to a master's program or a bachelor's program that offers them. Even some associate's programs offer the CNSS certs. And I am so glad that that link just got posted because, yes, that is it. That is the list of the schools that are certified by the NSA. And going to a certified program means that you make more in the end. Okay? So Vivian actually asked a really good question. How much is the salary? Vivian, it's real simple. With our industry, risk and reward are very directly related. So if you take a position in GRC, you can find the values of salary online at dice.com. That's going to be the one that I actually tend to give you as a good solid salary gauge because DICE has their finger on technical and cybersecurity salaries pretty well. But when you take a position in governance, risk, and compliance, the salaries aren't going to be the same as somebody who takes the jump into operations. And neither of those salaries are going to compare to a leadership individual like a director or a CISO or a CIO or a CEO. But I will tell you this. Every step up the ladder you take, you make more important decisions. Those decisions carry forward the character you have to everyone. So Matt, did I answer your question?
Anybody else have any other questions? Just type them in the chat box.
Guys, we've got 10 minutes left, so I'm good answering anything you throw at me. And even if that means I have to say, I don't know, I'll look into it.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll post this recording on our YouTube channel. So I got a question. So when we go to conferences, is this a good place to find mentors too?
Oh God, yes. Oh yes. And 9 times out of 10, if you're at a conference, you can find someone who's already where you want to be. And then again, if they say no, and Drew, good point. But I thought for a long time I wanted to be a pen tester. I have tools, I have skills. And then I actually made friends with one, and one is a mentor of mine. The friend flaked out on me. The mentor showed me what I could do and how good I was in operations in GRC. And said, look, you're going to do a great job of keeping us on our toes if you do the things that you're already doing. That's another thing. Sometimes mentors will help you identify something you're just so good at, you can't deny it, and you shouldn't stop being that. And it goes back to Drew's comment that, you know, just because salary looks awesome doesn't mean that it is. Dallas is a pretty hot and heavily fought market. DC is a heavily hot and fought market. North Carolina is a hard market. Houston is a hot market for cyber. Silicon Valley is a hot market. But when you look at these hot markets, those salaries may not reflect what's going on in your local area. If you want a local job, you have to really peel back the layers and say, okay, this is what the national average is. How does that compare to salaries in my area? So, Drew, thank you for bringing that point up. It's really, really crucial. Yeah, actually, beautiful point. So, if you get $75K in San Francisco, that's nowhere near the cost of living there, because renting an apartment in San Francisco, because the space is so limited, can be 3 times what it costs to actually own it. Because getting qualified for a home loan in San Francisco is ridiculous. So that's why people pay what they do to rent. Understand your area. Where are you? Where do you want to be? How does that affect what you want to do?
I got a question to follow up to that. So if you live in a small city and you know you want to do security, but there's not a lot of security jobs, is this a good field to get into? How do you suggest on moving forward? Because I run into a lot of students, you know, they live in small cities and they can't move, but they're saying they can't find a security job. Is it really important to actually do some background before getting into the field and the demographics of your area where you live?
Absolutely. If you know that you're committed to the area in which you are, then do yourself the favor of really identifying the corporations or businesses in your area that will benefit from you being their security professional. And then go to the meetings like what we've talked about. ISSA, ISACA, ISC Square. Major metropolitan areas have these meetings. You can almost always find satellite chapters by going to a main chapter meeting. If you know that you want to be at a particular place by the time you exit your degree program, find someone at that company to be your mentor. That's actually the crucial point that you need to understand. And if you know your area well, that means that you should be able to figure out a contact to help you get there. And I see Vivian posted another one. Can't the skills learned in cyber relate to other jobs in tech? And can't you find other jobs related also? Yes. Very simply, straightforward, yes. Investigation, crucial skill. Where is it used? Every place there are problems. I'm sorry. It's really that simple, right, Gus?
Yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah.
So, Vivian, you bring up a fantastic point, and it's a great point for us to close on. So, Gus, I'm going to go back and forth with you a little bit about this because we've got 3 minutes.
Okay.
So, have you ever met a challenge at work or with the Cybersecurity Student Association that you haven't been able to find an answer at some point?
Yeah, we always, not always, but yeah, we come across times where we can't find answers. But what we do, we have an advisory board, and we got mentors that we ask for their opinions, their questions, and we have a team. I build a team of friends, a team of mentors, where I could go to outlets, to find a solution.
Right, but that's the point. You go to people. That's what this is. That's why having mentors and mentees both is valuable, because occasionally, not always, but occasionally, you'll come across something that you're not comfortable answering. And you'll find as you think you know more, you know less. And it's important to have these friends, mentors, colleagues, mentees that you are able to stand on their shoulders and look into the distance to find that next answer. So with that, Gus is going to distribute my email address to those who ask for it. Like I said, I can't guarantee immediate responses. I don't do that. I guarantee you that I will respond. You send me an email through Gus, you'll get a direct response. And Gus, I'm going to say that this has been a wonderful experience. Off topic.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank
Drew, that's a question I'd like you to email to Gus, and I'll answer that one off of the topic and out of the thread, okay?
All right, Royce, I'd like to thank you for presenting today and sharing your knowledge with everyone in attendance. And for those who want to share or view this webcast again, we're going to post it on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you all next month.
Thank you, Gus. And everyone, it was a great pleasure to present to you this evening, and I wish you all of the best in your endeavors with cybersecurity and in life moving forward. Good night and God bless.